All right, hello everybody. It's 5/13/2020, and it's another live lecture for level design. This live lecture is going to be a demonstration of the creation of a test area for the requirements of prototype. So everybody's going to have a different uh, prototype in this scenario because you all have your own level mechanics that you want to work on. You all have your own theme for your level that you're going to be building objects for. For this demonstration, because I like to change it every month, there's going to be things that I cover that will be usable for any level mechanics that you might come up with, such as getting a Unity event to talk to something, putting a collectible in the test area, animating something. But the way that it all comes together is going to be specific for this video. So we're going to cover things like animation, basic particle systems, sound, different levels of feedback and whatnot, as much as I can cram into this so you have all of the pieces and puzzles in one video ready to go. So before you start on the prototype, before you actually start building anything, you want to make sure that you create a duplicate of this Scraps toy box scene. So right now I have the default one loaded up. The player is placed right in the middle of this platform, which makes it a little awkward to turn around and go backward. So if you want to start working in this scene and you want to do anything to it, like let's say add more space to work, first we want to make sure we duplicate it. Actually, before I keep talking, I want to make sure I have my chat opened up in case anyone has questions, and my participants, so that if anyone joins in late, I can admit them. Cool, here we go. All right, so let's go ahead and duplicate the scene first. I'm going to go down to the Scrap Scenes folder, locate the toy box, and hit Control+D, D for duplicate. That'll just make a toy box 1 next to it, and then I'm going to move it into my folder. Now in this demonstration, I'm not going to be working with Perforce at the same time. It's going to be just in Unity. If you have trouble working with Unity and Perforce at the same time, there's a previous video I did about working with them together. Real quick, I have a question. Is that the build we have on Perforce? Do we need to check it out? The video I'm doing is not a follow along thing. You won't be doing exactly what I'm doing while I'm doing it. This is just a demonstration of the steps you would take when working in the project for prototype. So the question was, do we need to check something out? Yeah, if you make a duplicate of the toy box, then it's a brand new scene. So if it's a brand new scene, that means you have to mark it for add on Perforce. You can't check something out until it's actually on the depot. So because we made a brand new copy of that toy box, you would have to mark it for add first. So I'm gonna go ahead and double click on this, open it up. Now it's the copy of that scene. And so inside of this copy, now there's one major thing in here which says do not edit. That's very specific. Do not edit anything that's under here. That includes moving this player. So moving the player is underneath this object. It will cause issues in your project if you shift this around. However, the toy box one is not under that. So if you need, like, let's say more space in here or something, by all means, grab this object at the bottom, duplicate it if you want to, make another one. So I'm holding control while I move it. When you hold control, it snaps it to the grid. And if you move it without holding control, you can always go down to like the corner here, hold V for vertice or Victor, grab a corner and snap corner to corner. That will make a lot of your construction of things move much more smoothly, and you'll get a nicer like final product at the end of it. So question, if you extend it by the corner, will that do something wrong with it? So if you grab an object, let's say by like a face or something, so right now these are all FBXs, so you can't grab a face and move it. If you grab it by a corner, you can't really grab a corner and edit it because they're not Pro Builder objects, I believe. And so if you instead grab the object and then scale it, when you scale it, you'll notice that the UVs get weird, the textures start scaling. So you never want to take your objects, or you want to reduce as much as possible the amount of grabbing an object and scaling it to give yourself more space. Just because it's going to make your textures and these grids not be the same as Unity's grid. So we want to make sure that everything is 1 meter by 1 meter, 1 unit of Unity's grid scale. So these match directly with the grid that's going on right now. So we want to make sure that we keep these objects as close to possible with this grid setup. So that's why I just duplicated this and moved one forward. Now, when I duplicated this, I just want to point out the original one had a broken script on here. You're going to see an error in your console, not really an error, but a caution that says, hey, there's a missing behavior on these things. That was just something that was in the original one that got yanked out at some point. If that bothers you, you can select the ProBuilder object in here and just remove this component. And then that warning's not going to show up anymore. It's just something that's in the project that's still there. So now that I have some space in here for the player to move around on, I'm going to use this space to actually build the basics of my level mechanic. I want to start with the level mechanic first before I even worry about what things look like, because it's all about getting something functional before we start building the test area around it. So the even if you're going to go into building functionality, and I said don't worry about what things look like, you still want to have reference material for what you're actually making. So in my idea for this level mechanic, I want the player to carry something like a grapnel object, which will be able to light things on fire if I touch them, and it's specific things that I touch will be burned. When they burn, I want them to, burn away and turn into dust or whatever. And then that's going to reveal something like a path, allow you to go through into a secret room or something like that. So I have a folder that I've been downloading images into just this morning based on the type of area I want to work on. I want to make the object I carry look like an old lantern. And it's going to be an old mansion theme, which is one of the themes from the level proposal. But I want to do it with the exterior instead of the interior for this test area. A lot of the time, we build interiors of old mansions or not we, but students coming through this course will build interiors, but not spend a whole lot of time on the exterior. And when I pulled these images up, I was like, the exteriors actually are pretty interesting looking, and it would be kind of fun to build like an outside area to work with. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and start working on how this works, the level mechanic in general. Now, for a success event meaning that something happens over time, such as the burning away of an object would happen over time. So I want to make sure that I build whatever that is first, so that I can see the event happen, and then I can show you all how to connect it to various different methods of interaction. So I want something to burn away. I'm going to make a real simple animation that can work on any object that I want to make burn away. So let's go ahead and create. I'm just going to make a cube over here or something. Actually, let's make an empty object first. Whenever you're doing animation, you want to make sure that you have something that is a parent of the animation, so that the animation isn't happening in world space. So world space is this whole area out here. A local space would be anything under this node. So if you make like an empty object under this now moves in local space. So if I move this over to 6041, let's put a little tag on this so it's easier to see. On the inspector, I'm going to go to this little box next to the check for enabling this object and put an icon on it. Let's put a big old yellow diamond. So there's where that one is. That's the child. And then up here, that's the parent. So let's go ahead and we'll make this one red. So the parent is over here at -2.0570, et cetera, et cetera. 3.26, 16.13, et cetera. This one over here is, notice the Y is not set to anything, the Z is not set to anything. That's because it's showing local space numbers. So if I pull this outside of that object, you'll see that the positions all changed because now it's referencing world space. So when you're doing animation, you want to make sure you're animating something as a local copy of something, as a local space transform. So to start this, I'm going to go ahead and use this as my burnable object, whatever that might be. I don't want to be specific about what it is yet. I just want to get it to work. I'm going to hold V and snap it to this corner. The corners in this toy box, each one of these boxes allows you to snap to these corners, so it'll be a little easier to work in here. So this is going to be the holder of my object, and then I'll have something underneath it that I animate to burn away. So let's create an empty. This is going to be my animation. So anim, I'll just name it that for now. So I know that that's going to be the object that has the animator component on it. And then I'm going to make something underneath it, create this one. And I'm going to rename this one. Actually, I want to make sure that the animation applies to anything that I put under here. Anything that's going to have a mesh renderer. I want to change how the mesh looks to make it look like it burns away. So let's go ahead and actually make an object with ProBuilder. I'll just make a cube this way. And then as long as I know that when I create an object that I want to have burn, that this is going to be the object that goes under the animation. So this one has a mesh renderer on it. Just a rule for me for when I set this up so I can reuse my animation is that whatever object I put under here, make sure that it has a mesh renderer on it. So this cube, I'm going to put under anim. I'm going to also make sure this cube, right now you'll see that the pivot point is in the back corner. I'm going to set the pivot point to the center. So on this cube, for ProBuilder, you can just go down to center pivot. Remember, you can't just go up here and click center. Yes, this will select it by the center, but you want to make sure that the pivot point is actually set to center. So with it set to pivot, go down to center pivot, and now it's actually centered in the center of the object. I'm going to set this to 0, 0, 0, and then I see a question I want to answer. Said you just went into duplicate the toy box and discovered I can't edit anything. I tested it in the other scenes. It seems to be an issue with the build I have. So remember, if it's a ProBuilder object you're trying to edit, part of project setup told you to change the file type of the ProBuilder settings. So if you see an error in your console saying the ProBuilder settings file isn't writable, then you have to go and make that file writable. So if that is the thing that you're seeing, that's probably the step you're missing, is setting that file to be writable. Usually that's what happens when you can't edit something in the scene. Let me know if that's not the issue, but I'm guessing that that is. Cannot move, scale, or rotate anything. So you make sure that you have your duplicate open, I guess. Make sure that the scene you have open is the duplicate of yours. You also have in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, there's a little lock up here. Make sure that you don't have like something locked that you can't actually modify scene objects in or something like that. That's another thing that I could probably think about. But worst case scenario, if you can't get anything working on your end for right now, then hang out till the end of the lecture and I'll step aside and work you through getting it functioning. But I need to just keep on barreling forward. So this cube is going to be anything that can be burned. It has a mesh renderer. So I'm going to call this burn object, I guess. There's burnable objects at the top, so burn this, whatever that might be. So this object's going to be underneath. This animation, I want to make it look like the object burns away. So I have to come up with some rules for what it means by burn away. I want to make sure that the object looks like it vanishes, and make it look like it actually changes color and stuff. And then I want it to allow me to pass through it afterwards. So I'll have to turn off the collider. So whatever the collider of this object is, I'm going to have to make sure it's the same all the time. So let's go ahead and leave it as a mesh collider for this object. I'm going to set it as convex. The reason why I'm being so specific is because an animator, once you animate something, it's going to remember what components you worked with. And if those same components don't exist on this object, then it's not going to work out the way I want it to. So on anim, I'm going to go ahead and add. Oh, awesome, Sarah. Good deal. Yeah. So the issue, just real quick, couldn't change any object. It was because the face mode on Pro Builder was selected. And so trying to click on things and whatnot, it wouldn't let you change it because it's not a face. So make sure you go back to the object selection on Pro Builder if you're trying to do something outside of it. But all good. All right, so animator, let's hit add animator, the component. Once you add it, if I go and animate this already, it's going to create an animator controller. I'm going to go ahead and generate one myself. So in here, in my folder, let's go ahead and create a folder for my first level mechanic. Burnable object, what I'm going to call it. And then I'm going to create under here an animator controller. We'll call this burnable object animator controller just for the heck of it. And then anim, I'm going to assign this into here. Now you may have gotten used to just going ahead and animating it and just seeing these things appear, but I want to make sure you're aware of the objects that are being generated in your project, so you remember to mark them for add. Okay, so we got our animator controller. Let's go ahead and make an animation for burning this. Now, if I move this parent object, the animation is going to go with it because once again, it's a child of it. Just to make that, to nail that in, hammer it home or whatever. So let's go window, animation, and we're going to create a simple animation of quote unquote burning away. We don't have to do something perfect yet because the goal is just to get it working. So let's go ahead and create an animation in my folder, burnable object, and we're going to call this one, I'm going to make one that's not burning, so we'll start it like a state that's not burning away. I don't know, burnable object, idle or something maybe, whatever that might be. So this will just be the object not burning away. We should be okay to just leave it like this for right now. It's going to be based on the material first, and then we'll do the collider, I guess. So let's go ahead and make in here. Let's change when you're doing animation. The object you're animating is going to be what you see under this add property. So if I go add property, burn this as the object. Transform is actually the anim object. We don't want to animate that object. We want to animate the things underneath. If you do it this way, then you can actually make multiple objects underneath one animator and animate all of them at the same time, as opposed to making multiple animators handle one thing. So I'm going to go burn this. I'm going to change the mesh renderer and specifically the materials color. And so let's change the materials color to make it look like we're burning. I'm going to make these ones just default for right now, whatever the current materials color is. And then we'll do the other one afterwards. So we're also going to change the collider. So add property, burn this, mesh collider. Let's go ahead and put this in and say enabled. Yes, currently enabled. Okay, so I'm going to copy these. I want to start with the same thing. So I selected this little node above the keyframes. I'm going to go Control C to copy, go to create a new clip, and BO burning. This will be the actual animation of burning away. This is going to be, I'm just going to make it the same length. I'm going to still have the thing enabled at this point, but we'll have a third state, which is when it's gone. So create a new, we'll go BO burned. Why not? And then here, I'm just going to create a real short. Actually, I'm going to make it the same length. I'm used to making everything the same length and then just changing the speed somewhere else. But for right now, we'll just say, yeah, in this one, I'm going to have both of these keyframes be that the mesh collider is no longer active, and let's make this look like it's missing. So in order to make a material transparent, we have to change the alpha on that material. I also have to make sure that the material we're using allows for transparency. So here on the animation, I'm going to say, hey, color, I want alpha to be 0. So right now it's not showing that it's changed, and that's because this material doesn't support it, but we can definitely go add it. I'm going to copy these, go to the end, paste it. So that'll be, an idle of it. It's already burned away. Let's go back to burning. So burning is the step beforehand. So it's going to slowly fade out. So down here at the end, I'm going to make alpha 0. But we're going to leave everything on. So that should show it slowly fading out as it burns away. And we can make it more fancy later, but that'll be for now. So if I close this, let's go ahead and set up a material that actually shows it burning. So in here, we're currently using Pro Builder default. There are materials in the project that we can use that have transparency on it that you could start with, or you can make a copy of it and do something else, or create one specifically for this if you need a fade out. But I'm going to go into tools, and then let's go into materials, and I want this to be something that burns away. So I'm going to go grab, I don't know, alpha yellow, let's say, Control D to duplicate it because I know I'm going to be modifying something on this, and I'm going to put it into my folder. And I'll prototype alpha yellow. I'm going to call this alpha yellow burn, and then let's assign it to this object. So this animation is going to make it have, it's going to make it have full, like non-alpha. It's going to have, it's going to be fully opaque instead of transparent at first. So if I window animation and look at this again, we'll see that here it is full. And it's all white color because the colors on this were set as white. And then if I switch it to when it's burning, you'll see from here that it slowly fades out. So that'll be that it's burning away. We'll just start with that for now. So let's set up this animator to make sure everything's in place. Window, animation, animator. So here's the animator window. I have the anim object selected, which means that it's referencing this controller. So this controller has all of these states set up. And I just want to make sure that when I tell this to start burning, it's going to switch animations and then go to the, it be finished burning. So this is going to look very similar to like when you did the entryway in PNP2 or the wind turbine or anything like that. They're all very similar because you have a starting point, which is my idle. I'm going to have something I transition to, which is going to be burning. And then I'm going to have something I end on. So that's going to be, it's all burned out. Then I'm going to transition between them. So let's go from idle to burning, burning to burned. And right now it's going to immediately start playing because I'm not stopping this from going anywhere. What I'm going to use is not, I'm not going to use an animator bool. Usually bools are things that I see everyone use at this point. There's something that works much easier with Unity events, and that is called a trigger. And so there's a lot of things called triggers in games, in editors, in on household objects, things like that. Your bottle of Clorox bleach has a trigger, so it gets kind of confusing after a while. There's so many words that use the same word. So a trigger in an animator specifically is instead of a Boolean of setting true and false, you just tell it to move to the next animation. So Boolean, you would have to set it true or false and then say, are you true or are you false? A trigger, you can just say, hey, set it and go. It's like pulling the trigger and letting it move to the next one. So I'm going to say new trigger and just say burn. And then on this first transition here, the new condition, just tell it to burn, and it's going to go ahead and move on. Now idle right now has, it's a second of animation. And so what I want is for it to just immediately move forward, which is going to be, has exit time? No, it doesn't. What that's going to do is as soon as I tell it to burn, it's going to switch animations. Then when it's burning, I want this to play all the way through, which is what this is doing, has exit time. However, at the very end of burning, it's jumping or blending to the next animation. I don't want this to blend, so I'm going to actually change it. You can either change it on here or up in here. Change the exit time. So I'm going to say 0, which would be, sorry, not 0, 1. 1 would be play the whole thing. It was 0.75, so it was playing just the back half of it. But this will make sure that it plays the entire animation and then starts the new one. Now it's still blending here, so we want to say that there's no transition. There we go. Now it's play the full burning, and then once you're done, then start playing burn. And that should help with any of you that have doors that jump and things like that. You can actually change the how it blends. So there we go. I have the idle, the burning, and the burned. I can show you. The question was, can I start this as a trigger, or can I start as a bool and then make it a trigger? I will show you what a bool looks like and the steps you need to do to make that work as well, just so that everyone's aware. Okay, so this one will be a trigger. It's using burn as the trigger. Now, that means that I have a working success event at this point. So if I go ahead and hit play and look at this object, right now I have an object, and when I walk up to this object, nothing, I can't walk through it. However, and once again, you can hit tab to pop your cursor out. So tab, pop the cursor out. If I go to the animator and do what I think there was an instructor in PNP2 before, Andrew O'Connor, used to call this the animator test. The animator test is while the game is running, click that button, see what it does. So see it moved on and then it went to burned. So if you look in the scene, it's gone and I can pass through it. It's not there anymore. Well, let's do that now, with something else, with another object. I'm going to stop playing, and then we're going to go ahead and pull in some of these interactive objects that are in the project. So imagine that this burnable object is actually a door or a bridge or anything that you animate, anything at all. Same idea. This is the idle of the door. This is the door opening, and then this is the door idle open. We're just calling it burning, and it's burning something instead. As long as you think about that when you're animating something and separate them into their states, you'll have no issues connecting any animation to an event or to an input or to whatever. So in the game, or in the scene rather, I'm going to drag out some of these interactive objects. So let's make a burnable object for each just so we see the difference. I don't want to have to keep hitting stop. So I'm going to duplicate this a couple of times. There's 3 copies of the same object, and we're going to connect these to these interactive objects. So inside of the Scraps Tools folder, I've got the mechanical lever. Let's go ahead and drag one of these out. This is the prefab right underneath the folder. So there's the lever. We've got the pressure plate. Let's go ahead and get a pressure plate and put it here. And we've got the switch panel. All of these use the interact use Unity events. Sorry, the mechanical lever uses the interact script, but it calls a lever event, so it still tells something else to happen. But these events are all the same. It's all a Unity event, and so the way these work is that if you have a function or a method, I should use the right words. If you have a method in a script that is public, you can assign it to an event. If you have an animation, an animator component, you can use set trigger to tell it to start animating. And so just in this example, I'm going to go ahead and stick in pull forward. Let's add an event. And then this object right here, burnable object 1, is the one in front of the lever. Let's go ahead and drag the animator from this into that slot. So drag it right into the slot. No function shows up on the dropdown. Click the dropdown and select animator. And then in here, you'll see everything that the animator can do. And specifically can do as in Unity events will allow you to use methods that have no arguments or have one argument. And so what that means is if you see in here like send message string, that's one. It's requiring one piece of data. Or rebind here requires no data. But you'll see there's none in here that require 2 different things. So down here at the bottom, we have set trigger int or string. Int, if you use that, that would mean that you would have to call this one 0 because it's the first one in the list. Otherwise, if you use string, you can call it by its name. So in here, we're going to call this one. Let's go animator, set trigger string, and I'm going to call it burn, I think is what I said. Burn, yeah. That'll, if I pull the lever forward, it'll burn. It's starting in reverse, so that means the next lever direction is forward. You can also have this start in forward and then pull in reverse, or you can have both of these do two different objects. We could take this one here, let's go make a duplicate and have it pull in the other direction and burn that one away. So lever, pull reverse, go ahead and assign this one 3 anim, the lever anim, set that trigger. This will be burn. Click, there we go, burn. So same thing, pressure plate. The pressure plate, you can set this to require one object, or we can require more than one object. I'll say this requires 3 objects to make this one active. If we activate it, then we're going to tell this object to burn. So add, select it. Let's move this back so we can actually see it from the pressure plate. Let's go up, actually. It'll be above it. There we go. So this one, open it up, animator, pressure plate, drag it in, set the trigger, tell it to burn, right? All right, I'm gonna leave that last one at the end because we're gonna turn that one into a bool, just for demonstration purposes. So if I hit play on here, go ahead and play. So right now the lever is pulled in a direction, but it didn't activate anything. Just to show the very first time that this starts up, nothing happens. If I pull the lever though, one burns away. If I pull the other one, or I pull it the other direction, the other one burns away. It's calling those animator triggers and telling them, hey, now you should set it, and then it plays the animation. This one requires more than one object. So you'll see there's feedback showing that it has one of them, but there's space for 2 more of that same size block. If I create something that can be placed on it, like a gravinal object, and the very simple way to make one of those, we can just say new shape. There's a cube, build it. Now this size of cube is almost the same size as this platform. If you're gonna require more than one object on the pressure plate, please make the object smaller. It's a pain to work with. So I'm gonna select these, make it smaller. I'm using the Pro Builder material as a measurement real quick for that. So there we go. It's not a perfect square, but it'll do. And I'm going to set the pivot point as center. If you don't, then the gravinal will pick it up from the corner. You want to make sure that it's centered, so center pivot. And then let's go ahead and make this actually picked up, or be picked up by the gravinal. I'm going to cause an error first so you all see it, and then I will fix it. So let's add to this a scraps_gravinal object, or if you don't want to do it through the add component menu, you can go to tools, and then go into scripts, and then gravinal object, and assign it directly underneath this collider. So you'll see gravinal object, and then the rigid body appears right afterwards. So I want this to cause an issue. We're going to go ahead and make that happen. Play, and then you'll see it falls through the floor. So this is one of the most common errors that you'll see in this project, and it'll be one of the most common errors you see people post about in Discord. At the bottom, it says, non-convex mesh collider with non-kinematic rigid body is no longer supported since Unity 5. It then tells you right underneath how to fix it. If you want to use a non-convex mesh, either make the rigid body kinematic or remove the rigid body component. Scene hierarchy path, cube, mesh asset path, blank, mesh name, PV mesh 1.3. So it tells you exactly what object's causing the problem. And if I stop playing and I click on this, if my object's not already selected, it'll select the object for you and say, hey, that's the one. That's the one that's causing the issue. So if I select cube, the thing that I need to fix on this is that I'm using a mesh collider. Just set this thing as convex and you won't have that error and it won't fall through the floor. So, there you go. Hopefully that helps you out with one of the most common issues I see. I know it'll come up again, but I just want to make sure it's in the recording and ready to go for everybody. So there's a gravinal object. I'm going to need 3 of them. So I'm going to duplicate it and move it and duplicate it, move it. There we go. Play. We've got 3 objects. Let's go ahead and place them on the pressure plate. 1, 2, and then just for the heck of it, I'm number 3. And there you see it burns away. So the same thing that the lever was doing, you get off of it, it then retracts. There's a little bit different in terms of how the level mechanic works. So the lever can be pulled forward or reverse, which can call a unity event. A pressure plate can be stacked up until you reach the correct number of objects, which will activate it. And then if you get off of it, it'll deactivate it. Switch panel turns on if you step on it, or turns off if you step on it while it's on. So it's not the same as a pressure plate. And this can be used on the floor, on a ceiling, on a wall, and you can throw things at it however you want to do it. You know, bounce objects off of it, right? So all of these work with, you know, whatever you want to put in those unity events, but I know that commonly animations will come into this course with booleans. So let's cover the a little bit of weirdness you have to do when getting a set bool to work with these. So in the animator, I'm going to go ahead and add a boolean to this. So add, let's say bool. The new bool is going to say is burning, and is burning will have to be set to true in order for this to move forward. So in here, idle, I'm going to remove this burn check, and we're going to add instead the is burning true. So if it is true, then we'll move forward. Now I want to make sure that when I removed it, this is still transitioning, or no, it's not. Has exit time, does not exist, so we're good. So in order for idle to move forward, it needs a boolean to be set. And so if we go back to the scene, on all of these objects now, it's not going to have a trigger, so setting trigger is not going to do anything. If I go in here and, you know, jump on these things, I'll get nothing. So let's go nothing. There's nothing that event talks to anymore, so it doesn't happen. So in order to do a bool, if we try to go into, let's say, this switch panel and talk to the animator. So on here, switch events, if I activate it, right now it's already active. Or no, it's not. Up here in the switch settings, it says is active, is blank. You can set it to already if you want to. Let's leave it not active. So if I step on it the first time, it'll activate. If I add an event here and drag this last burnable object in, this animator, to the switch panel, you'll see in here that I don't have access to set bool. Set trigger here, start playback, update, float, play and fix time. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. I can specifically tell it to play an animation, but I can't set a bool through here. That's not the end of the world. You just need to create a method for setting that bool so that you can then call that method instead. And so this is how you would get a Unity event to talk to any script, any public method that you write to do whatever it is you want. Play a sound, send a message, play an animation, etc. So on this object, let's go to the animator. I'm going to create an event here. Or not an event. I'm going to create a script here that'll handle any and all animations that use set bool instead. So let's go ahead and make sure that it's in my scripts folder, and then I'll just drag it to it. Right click, create a new C# script, and we're going to put my initials in front of any script that I write. This is something I want you to try to get into the habit of, setting it up so that your scripts do not have generic names like door trigger or trigger script or box script or whatever. That you name your script with your initials first, and then whatever it is that the script does. So DAM is my initials, underscore, and then this is going to be animator bool. Sure, it's going to handle animator bool parameters, RAM. There we go. So I'll use this to talk to any time that I have a bool parameter that I want to set through a Unity event. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this. And I'm going to make it as generic as possible so that no matter what, I can use it on every animator that I ever need to use a Boolean on. Loading. Cool. All right, so we have the script open. Here's the default stuff that it comes with. What I need to do first is make sure that I can talk to an animator. And the easiest way to do that is to store an animator. So up here at the top, variables, we're going to store an animator. So let's go private animator. We can even, well, let's use like the naming scheme that they give us. So here's the Visual Studio says, hey, just say animator lowercase. Yes, sounds good. So this right here, you cannot use the same like case. It's case sensitive. You can't use the same case as another variable. That's why it's like, well, animator as a type is capital A. So you can use lowercase a here, and that works fine. I know in other scripts we've just called it anim before. Up to you. I'm going to use animator this time, so it's different. So there's me storing an animator, but it's private. So in order for me to put something in here, I'm either going to have to use get component, or I'm going to have to serialize this field. So I'm going to go serialize field, save. And then when I go back to Unity, and let's go ahead and assign this to my animated object, so burnable object. No, it's you, not that one, this one. So I'm going to assign the animator bool param script here. You'll see that animator shows up right here. Now I can just drag animator from right above it right into my script. And now I've stored that animator into that variable. Now that it's stored in that variable, I can do whatever I want with it. So the goal here is that I need to set, let's go tab, set the value of a Boolean parameter. And so we can set a Boolean parameter to be true, to be false, and we can do that through its name. So let's go ahead and make those methods. I'm going to say public void, because public means that I want something outside of this script to use it. Void means it returns no information. So it's kind of like when someone voids a sale. It returns no information. It's just, you just tell it to do something. The public void, we're going to say set bool, and then we're going to pass, or actually we're going to do set bool, and then specifically true. I'm going to make one method for setting to true and one method for setting to false. The bool I'm going to set to true is going to be whatever I put into this variable, string name. And so I am creating an argument here for this method. I can pass in the name of the string, and then in this space, I will tell my animator to actually do the work for me. So animator.setBool, pass in the name. So if you look at this one, setBool gives us one of two values. Right now it says ID and then bool. This one says name and then bool. We want name, so we're going to say name, which is going to pull from here. There's name being pulled down, and then we're going to set it to true. So there's our two arguments in one thing. So this is just going to set this named parameter to true by running this code right here. So we're going to do the same thing for false. Public void set bool false string name, and then just have it do it down here. Animator set bool name false. So that way we can tell a lever to set it to true or false depending on what direction you pull it. You can set it on the pressure plate, on the switch panel, whatever. But this script will allow me to set a Boolean to true or false now through a Unity event. And I'll just show you how that goes over here. So animator slotted into that script. Those methods are public. So when I assign it to this switch panel, let's go to switch panel. Here's the animator object, no functions. But then down here at the bottom, you'll see our new script, the animator bool parameter. So if you select that, and then you go down to the bottom, you'll see set bool false, set bool true. So now that they're public, they're showing up on this list. So I'm going to go to set it to true, because I wanted to say is burning. If I go to the animator, that's what I called it. So is burning. Let's go ahead and make sure I name it the same way. Double click if you want to copy it. Go back to the scene, and I'm going to say, yes, set is burning to true when I activate the switch. So let's go ahead and hit play. And if I jump on this one, it now tells that method to run instead. So now you can see that there's another step you have to take to tell bools to work. But once you make that script, you can make it for all of your animations that use it. Something you could also do in this script is make another, custom method for, instead of setting true or setting false, you could make it toggle. So if you wanted to see how to toggle a bool, we could do public void toggle bool string name. And what we're going to do in here is say animator set bool, and the bool is going to be the name, and then here we normally assign a value. Instead, we're going to get this bool's value and just set it to the opposite. So we're going to say animator set, or get bool rather, and get bool, we're going to get this same name. So if I leave it like this, it's saying set the bool by this name with the value of this name. So it's going to set it to itself. So if it's true, it sets to true. If it's false, it sets it to false. It doesn't really get us anywhere, but you can actually put an exclamation point right below, right before it, and now it sets it to the opposite. So if it's true, it toggles to false. If it's false, it toggles to true. So there's just another cool way you can get some mileage out of that. But I'm going to keep moving forward. Spent a lot of time on getting this functionality going. We got to start getting an actual test area. So that's how you would set up bools. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And we're going to get rid of these interactive objects because that's not what I want to use to interact with this burning system. What I want to do is carry something over to it. So I'm going to show that part now. So I'm going to delete all of these objects except for the original. Get rid of these cubes. I don't need those. I don't need these switch panels or anything like that. Let's just get back to where we were. All that work's gone, right? But that's okay. So this object right now, this one is going to be the object that we're burning away. And I want to make sure that we can use anything to burn this away. So let's go ahead and set up how burning works for this. We're going to use the same animation we were doing before. I'm going to set this back to being the trigger, but I know now that we've covered it, which is good. Yes, delete it. I know it's being used. Go back to this transition, switch it back to burn. Now we're using triggers again. We can get back in here. So this object, I want this to burn away when I touch it. So burnable object is going to hold, this parent object is going to hold all of the functionality of this system, just the way that I have it designed right now. So I'm going to add a script to it. Let's go ahead and hit add component, DAM underscore burnable object. So that script gets generated down here in the project. You want to make sure you take it with you. I'm going to put this one because it's very specifically in my, I'm keeping like all of that level mechanic in one folder. So I'm going to put it in there, even though I have scripts at the bottom. This is going to be my entire one level mechanic. So I'm just going to put everything into the same folder. All right, let's jump in here and then let's set up how this one works. So another empty script, but let's get this thing going. I'm going to use pseudocode to come up with how this works, or rather I'm going to write how this works in pseudocode, and then we're going to actually make it happen. So I'm going to delete the stuff that's here right now. I'm going to start fresh. I want this to go away. Come on, save. Yeah, here. All right. I don't know why that window's not going away, but let's keep going. So with this open, I want to set it up so that, let's put a comment here, the player will carry an object over to this one and burn it. So that means that we need to know what object will burn this one. I need how does this burn? So how does this burn? What happens after it's done burning? And I need feedback. At least three types, right? We're hoping for 3 different ways to tell the player that this has happened. I have one of these done already, which is the animation. So if I want to make sure that these things are happening, let's look at, what's going on with this system. So first of all, the player will carry over an object to this one and burn it. Commonly, to look for a specific object, we use tags. I want to tell everyone in this, in here with me, and those who watch this later, that the tag system in Unity does not get exported at when you use a Unity package. Those tags are actually part of project settings. So something that you need to be aware of is that tags do not go with you when you leave level design and go into PNP3. That's okay though. I want to show you a method for creating your own tag system. It's actually really simple, but if you create your own tag system, it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of headache later on. So in here, I'm going to go down to scripts, right click, and create a script. And I'm going to call this DAM underscore tags. It's going to be my own tag system. Minimize. So open this one up. It's going to be another script that we need to look at. But this one is going to store tags. And so usually when I do this one, I want to use like, I want to do this simple, but something I never do in these demonstrations is make it so you have like a drop-down menu. If I have time, I'll go back and do it that way. I think. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with enums or enumerators, but I think that would be fun to do an enumerator this time, because then you can see a drop-down menu, and I was super excited when I saw a drop-down the first time, because then you can pick things from a list, which is kind of cool. But I think I'm going to start with that one instead of making it simple, and then we'll see what that looks like. So if I use my own tagging system and I want to use an enumerator instead of like a string, so normally tags in Unity, you have like a string that you mark at the top of something. So here at the top, tag, you would pick from a list of stuff, and you have a bunch of these tags here that are predetermined. I want to make a predetermined thing that we can pick from. So here, I'm going to make a private, let's say enum, and an enum, we're going to call it dtags, or dtag, let's call it. No, tags, we'll get a list of tags, sure. And then when you set this up, you just hit enter and then open it like you would an if statement. Once you have it open, you can just start naming things. So we can say, I don't know, if we want to do like none, and then let's do the thing that we're looking for. So let's say burning. Sure, why not? Burning. Those are my two tags right now that I can put on stuff. Once you set up your list of tags, you're going to have to make one that can actually be modified. So down here, I'm going to say private enum, or not enum, sorry, private d tags. You have to name it by it. And if you hit space, then here we can name it. So I'm going to say d tag for short, space, hit equals, space. And then it'll say d tags. And then you can pick one. So I'm going to pick none for right now. So this is the one that we're currently assigned. And this is the list of available ones. So here, I'm going to serialize this so that we can see it. I may have to change this one from being private. I'm not really sure, but let's find out. Actually, I need to not serialize this. I need to make this one accessible. So let's not make this serialized, but let's make it public. I think I'd have to make this one public at the top too, in order for everyone to see it. So let's go, yep, it's already telling me. Inconsistent accessibility. The one I'm pulling from is private, this one's public, this has to be public. This one cannot be serialized. So in order for everyone to be able to check this tag or change this tag or whatever, I need to make sure that it's public. So just to go over this real quick, I have a type of enumerator called dtags. In here, I can put as many things as I want. Burning, I could say, cold, I could say acid, whatever this might be. These are all different tags I want to put on objects. Down here, this is the one I currently have set. So dtag is a type of dtags. Notice it highlights this one. It says this is a type of this. It is public, so other things can see it. It's currently equal to the none version of this one. So this is from this list. It's underneath this. Notice D tags, period. It's a property, so that's under that. I just want to make sure I cover that as best as I can since I'm doing something weird this month. But now I have my little tag system set up. If I minimize this, we'll see that this has a drop down now, which is what I wanted. So this is the burnable object. I'm going to go ahead and create an object that has this tag on it. So let's go ahead and make a, I should have not deleted all those little ones, but here's a new box. Let's make this actually the correct size. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, build it. There we go. And now on this object, I'm gonna assign it my tag system. Now you'll see here's the little drop down, and I can select burning, cold, acid. So I have my own little drop down tag system that's, you know, ready to go there. I can even move this up to the top if I wanted to. It's just a little annoying. Move up, and move up. So you're at the top of my object now. I have my own tag system. Up to you if you want to do that. But this transform my tag system, I'm going to set this to burning. That's what that one does. And when I touch this object onto that one, it's going to burn away. That's kind of what I want to do. So let's go ahead and make this a graphical object so I can carry it. Let's center its pivot as well. So centered pivot, scripts, tools, graphical object, assign it. I set the mesh collider to convex. Just as a side note, it said my internet connection was unstable. If it breaks out, let me know, and I can try to, you know, recover something that I may have covered previously. Hopefully everything is okay with my internet, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to keep moving. I have other recorded versions of this that I can send out if this recording gets messed up for some reason. Anywho, so I have a box. It is a rigid body. It has its own tag system here at the top. I'm going to make sure that when this object touches this other one, that it actually burns away. So let's go back to the script. And here, burnable object. So I want to bring an object to it and have it collide with it. So let's go ahead and set it up so they collide. In order to check if something collides with something else, you have to use on collision enter. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to add void on collision enter. Say something collided with this. What do we need to know? Is this object on fire, essentially? Can this object burn me, rather? So let's check. In order to get the object that just collided with this one, we have to get it from collision. Collision is the event that was stored when these two objects collided with each other. So I'm going to say if collision, put a period after it, will give me the properties of collision. I can get collider then. Collider is going to be the collider of the object that bumped into me. And then let's get a component from it. So the component I need is if it has this tag system on it, and if that tag is the one I'm looking for. So first of all, let's get this component. So get component, D tag, there we go. And let's just see if this component exists. Let's first of all, I should say, does it have a tag? Let's cut this one out. This one should say, does this object have a D tag? There we go. And so this if statement will just return true if it does have that component, or false if it doesn't. So we can say, yes, it does. Down here, we would say, if we go else, then this would be, no, it doesn't. Not that we need an else, I'm just putting it here for the sake of seeing it. So if we have a tag, let's go ahead and check to see that thing. Can this object burn me? Before I get to this part though, I'm gonna make this easier to write. So this whole long thing here, let's copy it. Let's make a local variable. The local variable is going to be of a type. We're going to say DAM underscore tags. We can say C, you know, let's call it col object tags or col object. Why not? I don't know. Say collision tag. Sure, there you go, collision tag. And that's going to equal all of this stuff so that I don't have to write that again. I just want to make it simple. So col tag is now going to equal this whole length here, now that we've verified that this exists. Then can this object burn me? Let's find out. If col tag, and if we put a period after this, we'll see the actual variables inside of it. So if we look for D tag, there's the enum, hit enter, and then space, and then equals, and then space. And this will give you now the same thing that we have written there, but from the type, so DAM underscore tags. If I just double click on that, it'll give me this whole length here, but then put a period after that, and it'll give you the different types, the different tag things. So this will be like setting it equal, or not setting it equal to, but comparing D tag to the available types. So the one that I'm looking for is if it's burning. So is it that one? This can burn me. Okay. Great. The basics of if it's going to be able to affect this object or not. Now, we have a state that we're talking about. Are we on fire or not? Kind of a thing. So make this burn, not make this burn, that kind of thing. What object will burn this one? How does this burn? What is happening after it's done burning, etc. So when I did the animation, I did it was idle, not burning. It was burning, and then it was done. So I'm going to make those into their own methods down here. Let's say private void. Let's say we don't really have like a put out, like a not burning or anything. Let's just say set on fire. Set this on fire. Once again, it says my internet connection is unstable. Once again, if you notice a dip out of the recording or the screen share, let me know so that I can go back and fix it. All right, set this on fire, and then we'll have another one. Thank you, I appreciate that. The next one is going to be what happens afterwards. So private void, this burned out. So after we are done burning. That'll be what happens after the animation switches to the last one. So let's go ahead and start setting this stuff up so we have some feedback and whatnot. When we set it on fire, we're going to tell an animation to start playing. So set this thing on fire is going to tell my animator to start. If I want to talk to an animator, I have to store it. So the animator for this object, let's go ahead and store it. Up here at the top, let's go after these here. I'm just going to leave those comments up here, but then we'll start variables. So I'm going to need to talk to my animator. Let's serialize that field. Let's make it a private animator. Go ahead and use that one again. And then I'm going to tell it to set a trigger. If I'm setting a trigger, then I need to know what that trigger is called. I'm going to go ahead and store that as well. So serialize field. We're going to say private string anim trigger name, I guess, anim trigger name, whatever that's going to be, so that if I want to change it, I can. And then down here in my set this on fire, we're going to say my animator variable set trigger, and then the trigger name, we're going to say anim trigger name. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to tell that thing to start, whatever that is. I set it up this way so we can actually do feedback and whatnot all in one, method set aside, rather than doing it all in like this big nasty on collision enter thing. So something collided with this. I'm gonna put this on the outside. There we go. Something collided with this. Clean that up. Does it have a tag? Yes, it does. I store it so that it's easy to write. Can this object burn me? Yes, this can burn me. Here it will say, no, it can't. No, it can't. Great. Because that'll be setting up the logical flow of all that stuff. Okay, so this is it setting on fire. I have everything I need for checking if this thing works. Let's go ahead and see if it works. So minimize. There's my object. It's currently set to burning. Here's the object I want to burn. As long as I poke it with the other one, it should start. There's my object. Pick it up. Let's zoom in with left shift. We'll jump into this view. You poke it, collision. On collision enter. All right, let's go compare something. Something is off. Did I? Oh, I didn't set things on the inspector. Yay! I'm missing some parts of my script. Hold on. Jumping ahead. See, I'm not even talking to the animator yet. Doesn't work yet. So let's make sure that we store the animator and that we set the name of the trigger. So the animator right here, assign it, and then the trigger name was burn. So let's name it. And now let's poke it with a box. Play. Okay, box, pick it up, touch it. Gotta find out what I'm doing wrong. Oh, it doesn't have a collider. Can't use on collision enter without a collider. So this burnable object at the top is not the actual collision of that object. It's this thing out here. So maybe I don't want to, oh, video is slowing down. Cool, thank you for letting me know. So the video said it's, or the video may be slowing down. Hopefully it speeds back up or comes back to normal. Hopefully, right? Keep going, thank you. All right, so I have it set up to talk to the right one, but this does not have a collision on it. That's one thing I'm missing. Maybe I don't want to have a collision, maybe I do. Maybe I want to set it up as a trigger because right now it's colliding with its child object. This one cannot generate that collision event. But maybe I could put this on a lower object. Let's do that instead. The object I'm burning is down here. But I want this one to be what we collide with. I'm just going to take this component. I'm going to copy the component and move it down onto burn this. And then paste the component by going to any one of these gears and saying paste component as new. Now I have this one on here instead, which now it can collide with something. Let's remove it from this object. There's no collision up here, so now it's not going to do anything. So when I collide with this object, it'll actually start burning away. Let's go ahead and do that. And I just want to remember, it's got a collider. You can't call on collision enter unless there's a collision on this game object specifically. So now it's on that object instead. Go ahead and dive in. Object, pick it up, touch it, bonk. What am I missing? Find out. Something is wrong. So the cube has a tag called burning. This object here, burnable object, burn this. The mesh collider here, there's no other collider. This is the burnable object. I'm talking to this animator. On collision enter, when this object collides with it, I should see that thing. Let's make sure I'm not missing a step. On collision enter, I'm looking for, oh, no, that's right. Collider, tags, yeah, I check for the tag. Yes, it does, then I store it. Can it burn me? I check if the collider tag has this tag. Yes, it can. I'm not telling it to actually set on fire. Got to make sure you go through all those steps, right? If it can burn me, I should set it on fire. Let's call that. Enter. Set on fire. I'm going to call our method. Once you call the method, then this will run whatever is under here. Now, one more time, make sure it works. This is why it's good to test your work. Test, 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 all the way. All the testing. There it is on the ground. Pick it up, touch it. There it goes. It burnt away. Now I can pass this through it without an issue. There you go. Yay, it works. Even though it took a bit to get to that point. So that's the functionality. I want to make sure that this functionality also has feedback. And so this feedback, I need to make sure that certain things happen at certain times. So let's go ahead and set some of that up. In order for this to say it's burned out, I would have to put this somewhere else. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this from here. I need that in an animator event instead. So if I set this on fire, I need it to, right now it plays an animation of it burning. I want it to play a sound and also to tell me that it is burning. So let's say, tell the player, play a sound. Let's do all of those. So if we're going to tell the player, we're going to send a message. You can send a message to the message system. There's a document on, I don't have this one up right now, but there's a document on FSO that you can pull up. The Scraps game design document, it's got all of the different types of, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Scraps game design document, there you are. So this document has all of the possible things that you would want to talk to in the project, and how to actually talk to them. So if you go to the bottom here, it has the level design tools, message system. You pop into the message system, you'll see how to actually talk to it. So here's the example script of talking, like sending a message saying that the scrapper found an item, and how you would call this thing. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use this method to send a message to the message system. Back into Unity, actually back into Visual Studio, tell the player, you're going to say scraps _ message system, period, instance, period, new message. And so new message. New message, if you open the first parenthesis, it's going to tell you that it takes from as a string, who said it, body as a string, what did they say, and the last part is formatting for the message. So we're going to say the person that said it is, I don't know, nobody's really going to say it. We're just going to have the game tell the player that it does it. So I'm just going to put game here for right now. The formatting that I use is going to have, it's going to remove who actually said it and put something else there. So I'm just going to say game for right now, comma. This is going to be what it says. We're going to say this object is on fire, but I want it to use the name of the object. Actually, the name of the object is going to be wrong because we're colliding with the internal one. So we're colliding with burn this. I would have to get its parent, I guess, to name it. So let's just put a name in here, whatever this object is going to be. So let's give it a variable. Serialized field, private string, name of object, whatever this is that we're burning. So down here, I'm going to use that variable first, or actually we're going to use it afterwards. We're going to say, no, it would be first. Yeah, name of object first. So name of object, we're going to put this in front of the string, plus, which will append the name of the object to this string. Then we can say space, so it says name of object, space, is on fire. There we go. And then if you put a comma after the body, it's going to give you the next step. So hit space, you'll get this Scraps message system message type. I'm going to go ahead and double click on that. So it auto puts that all in here, put a period after it, and now you get the formatting. Bad, emote, standard, and system. I'm going to use system to do mine. System will make it gold. It'll say system in all caps at the front, and then have the message as if the game is telling you something. Bad would turn the message red if you want to give negative feedback. Emote is kind of like if you still play World of Warcraft or any other MMO at this point. If you do /dance and it says that you're dancing, it would put your name in front, or you could put the name of whoever said it, space, and then whatever event it is. And it's not like a message so much, it's just like a gray text that goes through the chat system. Standard is like if you would say something normally in a game or MMO or whatever. But I'm going to use system to format it. It's a really long line. We go to the very end. You always want to make sure you end the line when you're done with a semicolon. But this is kind of hard to read like this. Know that I ended the line at the end. So if you ended the line at the end, you can totally make this multiple lines. So instead, let's go enter, and then go over here and hit enter, and go over here and hit enter. And now we've got who said it, what did they say, and what the format was. And that that method of writing that message is the same as if I wrote it the other way. I just added some, you know, some returns in there to make sure it's easier to read on here. But it doesn't end the line until you actually end the line. So just keep that in mind. As soon as you put a semicolon down, that ends the line. Finally, at the very bottom, playing a sound. If I want to play a sound, I need an audio source. So let's go in here and do a audio source. Actually, why am I making another one? Go serialize field. We need an audio source. So I'm going to say private audio source. Where am I playing from? You know, use the default that it's got on here. So audio source, and then I'm going to need what I'm actually going to play. So what sound I'm going to play. Let's go in here and do another serialized field. We're going to say private and audio clip. Audio clip. There we go. That'll be what I'm playing. Save. So I've got a message, play a sound, and I play an animation. There's my 3 forms of feedback to show you that what's happening is actually happening. And I can add more, but that's what we're doing for right now. So audio source is what I called it. We're going to say play one shot. The sound I'm going to play is audio clip, whatever that is. Notice I haven't gone to find anything at this point. I'm just setting up functionality. So here is playing an animation. Here is sending a message. Here is playing a sound, all when I get set on fire, which is super good. That's all happening here. So let's go ahead and minimize this. Back in, hit play. This is going much longer than I wanted it to. I'm going to push this only up until 1 o'clock, and then I'm closing it. So wherever I get to at that point. So I'm going to pick this up, touch it. You'll see is on fire. It didn't even say the name. Oh, I didn't fill out that variable. One more time. Got to make sure you do those things. So on my burn this, the name of the object I didn't fill out, which is here. So name of object, this is going to be whatever I'm burning. So let's say that this is it's an untrimmed, no, it's going to be like a bush or something, an old hedge. Old hedge is on fire, right? So it's going to be outside of a mansion, old hedge. And then I need an audio source to play from. So underneath this burnable object, I'm going to create a new empty here, just so I can separate it. I'm going to say this is audio source. And I'm going to add an audio source to this. Audio source, there you go. So this audio source is right on this object, which is underneath this. So there it is attached to this little box. I'm going to make sure that I can hear this, not from all distances, only when I'm nearby. So I don't want this to play on awake, first of all. I want to make sure that when this starts playing, it's looping, but maybe I don't want it to loop until I play, I don't know. Or maybe I don't want to play a looping. Let's make sure the sound that we're doing is just when you touch it, so setting it on fire. We'll have a audio for looping the burning sound, for something else. But for now, it'll be the actual interaction of touching the object. That's what we're going to play a sound for. So let's make sure that this is not playing at all distances. Notice at the bottom, it's min distance is 1 unit and max distance is 500. The listener is the player, so they are still super close to this object at this point. What I like to do is change this from logarithmic roll-off to linear instead. So it's easier to see this and manipulate it when you're getting something working. You can always go back to logarithmic and change the curve if you want, but this curve is all sorts of detailed, and this is just top and bottom, right? So if I want it to be maybe like 10 units away, I hear full volume, or 10 units away, sorry, is the max distance I would hear it, then that's how far I have to be. Or if I'm standing here, it's going to be dead silent. And if I walk up to it, then it's going to be full on burning sound. So maybe we'll say 15. They'll go a little bit further. Now you'll see, here's where the player is. There's listener. So listener is your player's ears, essentially. It's actually on the camera, I believe. Or no, actually, I think I changed it. Yeah, the camera's back here. So the player's actually got the listener on it. And so this is where they can hear sound. You also want to make sure I did the roll off, but it's 3D sound settings. Right now we're set to 2D. So if you want this to be 3D sound, you have to take this and move it all the way up so that it's on full 3D sound. You can make it partial 3D and make it so you can hear things all the time, but at a lower volume or something. But I'd rather have full 3D, full 3D sound, so no matter what, it changes as I walk around it and stuff. So there's our audio source set up. I need something to play. So I'm gonna go back to my object in here. Burn this has the script on it. I'm going to assign my audio source. Boom. Now let's assign a clip. So in order to play a sound, I'm gonna need a sound. And just like my last video that I was doing, I don't know if I did it in the video, but I definitely did it as like a side thing. I like to record my voice when I need some sort of sound. Online voice recorder is the website I like to use. Online voice recorder is going to get me something I can use right now. So we're going to make something, catch something else on fire that makes like a whoosh sound. So we're going to go. There you go. Perfect. Good enough. Save that thing. Here's my sound. All done. Showing a folder. Let's go ahead and get some stuff I'm grading in there. Let's go ahead and drag this sound from my downloads into my burnable object folder. Oh, I missed it. Let's drag it from here up to the burnable object folder, play it in Unity, makes a sound. And then I'll go ahead and assign this to my script. Let's name it to set on fire sound. And then burn this. I'm gonna assign my sound clip here. And then let's see if I can get all of that feedback going. So hit play. Run up. Touch it. I heard it. I don't know. I see a null reference for some reason. Let's figure out what that is. Burnable object, null reference. Who's missing? That must have been from another one. This is not clearing on play. It's not. All right. Cool. Make sure it clears on play. Otherwise, you're going to get old error messages. Okay. For some reason, I don't see the chat anymore. Bring the chat back. There it is. Cool. Chat's back. All right. So we have all the pieces for this level mechanic now. It took a bit to get it all going. I've got only a little bit of time to get some sort of a test area in the way for the player to actually interact with. So I have a folder of references that I was going to work with. I'm going to make a couple real basic ones, build out a test area, and get it ready to go. But the level mechanic is working, which is good. So let's go ahead and go to Unity and start throwing this stuff together. Close Visual Studio. Yeah, let's make an area. So this is going to be an exterior area, but I'm still going to need some walls. So let's go ahead and create a basic wall. So let's go to New Shape. Hold V to snap corners to corners. My wall I usually use usually start with like a one size block, hit build, and then change the size on it. Right now we're built from this back corner. Yeah, okay. So I'm actually, for this wall, I'm gonna set this pivot right here, set this vertice to be the pivot point. So selected this vert, let's say set pivot, and then get back to object mode. Now this is the pivot point. Hold V, snap. Now we're right on corner to corner. I'm gonna assign a material to this so that I have our measurement stuff going on there, the actual scraps measure, block out material stuff. I'm gonna go to scraps tools and then go to materials. Inside of materials, we have all of the different ones that are in the project for you to work with. I'm gonna make this, because it's a wall, into structure, and let's go neutral for the starting wall look. And then I'm gonna change the size of this. So let's make this a little thinner. I'm gonna select the face on the outside, and I'm going to drag this down until we get to this block here, the two smaller blocks, and then let's go 4. So control, 1, 2, 3, and then hold the top, control, 1, 2, 3. There is a basic wall ready to go. Let's go ahead and name it. So wall 4 by 4, sure. And then I'm going to make a prefab of that and then come back to it. So prefabs, drag it down, boom. Now, one cool thing I saw in this mansion is that not all of the walls are like real basic walls like that. There was one that was kind of curved and neat looking. So I wanted to show if you were to create one other one. So let's do like a curved window thing. Let's take this wall 4 by 4, put another one in here. But I'm going to unpack this. So unpack prefab. Snap it over here to the corner. So holding V, I snap the corner. And then I'm going to modify this wall so that it's not just like this plain old flat wall. I'm still going to make it 4 by 4. So holding control, I'm going to come back to 1. And then if I look at this, I see these like curved window things. I'm not even sure what they're actually called, but where it like kind of outcrops out a little bit ish, if I'm using those words correctly. Should have done research before I started. Okay. So if I hold bay window, thank you, Melissa. All right. So if I hold shift, I can extrude. And if I extrude out, then I can actually move this one in a bit like this. So I can create that first part of the bay window. Actually, let's rotate it first. So let's go back to 1, rotate, and rotate this one so it faces kind of like a 45 degree, and then extrude out. And then we'll move it back so that that looks kind of straight. Get it to about here. And then I'm going to rotate this one back so that it's like flat-ish, rather. And then I'll extrude again. So there's going to be over, and we'll extrude this way. That'll be a flat window. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's not going to be 4. That's going to be more than 4, but that's okay. So extrude to here. Let's actually make this go full. Big old window here, little window. That probably looks better anyways. And then I want to, let's go ahead and flatten this one. And I'm going to extrude again. Extrude. And something I'm going to do to make sure these things line up correctly is adjust the last one to match up to a different one. Actually, I could leave it flat here. I might want to change this one, but I don't know. Yeah, let's go ahead and just do it this way. So I'm going to take this one, duplicate it, move it to the other side so I have something to connect to, because the idea is building it modular. So I've created this other wall that I can kind of connect up to. Actually, that is 4. That works out. It's not too bad. Let's just make sure these two match up. So while I have this one selected, actually, instead of selecting it here, I'm going to select the vertices instead. So select the vertice. And then this is already snapped to the grid. So if I hold V, I can snap vertice to vertice, vertice to vertice. Go down here, same thing. Select vertice to vertice. And now they're going to be like connected one-to-one with each other. There we go. That'll, perfectly match up, modularly to each one of them. So if I wanted the walls to all connect like that. So let's actually take this one. Instead of going this way, I'm going to rotate it. So control, rotate that wall, move it back. Get over here. Wrong scene, move it back. Go over this way. And now they lock up like that as well. So there's my corner of the, of the mansion there. This is probably going to be a door, but I don't want to go too far with building the test area objects until I actually get this thing, placed together as if it was like laid out and working. I'm going to need some sort of a porch to go up on. This is supposed to be on top of a porch. So I'm going to go ahead and set up like a little porch area. Let's go ahead and make a modular piece of a porch. So new, the porch, I'm going to make it maybe just like this tall. Let's get the player over here so I have an idea of how big I want to make this. I'm going to build this box here just to start. Go to tools, pull out this player size, line them up and be like, when I walk up this onto this porch, does this look right? Yeah, that's probably a decent size. Let's just, stick with that for our height. Let's build the porch up to this height up here. But I'm going to select the bottom then. make this just thick enough to be like a piece of wood or something. So let's give this a material on here. Once again, pull up references if you're not quite sure how thick something is, or how close you need to make something to make it believable or resemble something from from your actual reality, right? We're trying to base this game in as much reality as possible, so when someone plays through it, they're more easily immersed into it than thrown out by some sort of visual aesthetic dissonance or something like that. So this object, let's go ahead and assign, I'm going to do structure warm for the wood and stuff. Let's go ahead and then move this bottom up to be like here. That'll be the thickness of the deck or porch or whatever. Let's go ahead and make it this one. Let's go 4 and 4. Or do I want to do 4 or 2? Come back. I'm just looking at this because like this is 1 unit. If I make it 1 unit and then make another one that's 3 units, or I can make one that's 1 unit and one that's 4. Just trying to think of building it in a modular setup or whatever. So let's go with 1 unit for this will be porch 1 or porch 1 by 4, I guess. Porch 1 by 4. I'm going to duplicate that, move it out. This will be 4. Like that. Porch 4 by 4. There we go. And then if I duplicated this one, actually, let's go ahead and make a copy of it first. So I don't want to make a duplicate until it's a prefab. So that's a prefab. That's a prefab. Now I can take this one and duplicate it, move it over, snap it up, duplicate, move it over. If that's too big for this side, which I think that'd be perfect, so I'm going to leave it like that. But I'm going to make this so that there's a little walkway going up. So instead of having this 1 by or 4 by 4 here, let's go ahead and unpack that prefab. Actually, who are you? Oh, that's the other one I made, the bay window. Let's rename this wall bay window. There you go. Okay, take that one, put it in my prefabs. Oop, moved it too far. Prefabs, get up here. All right. And then we'll take this one. Notice I'm keeping everything very simple. At any point that I want to update what these objects look like, I can just edit the prefab and it'll apply it to everything that's outside. Just in case you were wondering why I'm not going back and adding windows and things. So I'm going to select these objects and move them up because these actually need to be at this height now because they're on top of the porch. And that does mean that I could have probably not built this one because the porch could be under here. But then maybe again, I don't know how I want to do the inside. Maybe there's a little like seat here or something. So I could probably build this without this 1 by 1 piece. Let's just get rid of this. Take these and move them in. Boom. So it's like right up underneath. And then let's keep moving forward. So actually take you, duplicate. This is why I can't do that one, because that one's going to go under that whole piece. And I want to make sure that that's not wood underneath the old mansion floor. So these two would have to be out 1. These ones would have to be up and over, or this one would have to be here. And I would get rid of this side piece and do something else with it. There's a couple different ways I could handle it, but to think about that while I'm building it, But I have those 1 bys, so I can take the 1 by instead. Porch 1 by 4, boom. Rotate. Go ahead and snap it over here. And once again, the reason why I'm not just building it all from one piece is that at any point I want to modify how these things look or work or whatever, I can just change this prefab and it'll apply it to all of my pieces. And each one of these can have its own, whether or not it be like different types of functionality or like how things are colliding or working or whatever. I could cut out like this floor, I could have collapse if I wanted to by just removing this one tile and putting a collapsing floor there instead. A lot of different ways we can do it. Let's make a piece for under here, or maybe we can duplicate this one, slide it under then we have just like a one whole piece here. I'm going to go ahead and just, for time's sake, let's do, not time's sake, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and make one more of these. Let's duplicate. Let's break this down, unpack. Let's set this as a 1x1 porch. Might need a 1x1 at one point. Boom. It's not a 1x1 yet, though. I didn't change it. 1x1. Change the size. Nope. Select it. This way, we're not doing like a ton of objects, but we're not doing, you know, what am I trying to say? We're not trying to do a bunch of individual objects, but we're not trying to do all one object either. So there's me building the porch out with all that stuff. So the thing I was trying to get back to, changing this floor here to be stairs. So let's go ahead and duplicate this floor, or not duplicate the floor. Let's unpack this floor. So unpack completely. This is going to be porch 4x4 with stairs. Boom. With stairs. Let's modify it so that stairs can actually go here. Look at my houses real quick. Stairs, pillars, walkways, that kind of stuff. I'm going to create something in that realm. So I'm going to select this edge. Let's come over to 1, 2 here. Maybe I want this to have one more step here, maybe. So let's go down to select this face. Come back, 1. And then we can go Shift, Extrude, Control, go back to the grid, Shift, Extrude, Control to go to the grid, Shift, Extrude, Control to go to the grid. And if you're not going to the grid, once again, while you're moving this, you can hold V to then drag out to a corner. You can like pick a corner somewhere else and drag it. Select this one, get closer. Select that one, there we are. Shift to extrude, Control, go to the corner. And there's our open up for the stairs here. I'm gonna go ahead and add some stairs to the porch. So new shape. Actually, we're gonna add stairs to this piece specifically. So I wanna make sure that this one is its own piece. I'm gonna go ahead and make this a prefab, and then we'll go to porch 4x4 with stairs. We can then go open prefab and edit this one specifically. So let's go ahead and add a new shape, stairs. Those stairs are way too big. We wanna make sure that the stairs of a height, let's go to like 1, snap it over here. That's way too wide, right? But 1 unit tall is probably fine. I think that's what I had it set up for. Let's make sure that it doesn't go that length. So steps is going to come back and be depth all the way back. Oh no, I wanted to go over there. 2 on the depth maybe, and then we'll move it back to its position. Let's not do 2 depth, let's go 3, I guess. 3 length, yeah. Should we go the other way? So this goes right down to where the porch starts, which is cool. And then the steps going up. And I'm not sure if this is the right amount of steps. It's not going to matter for the way that I'm going to handle this. But I might want to make it as thick as one of these boards, or maybe the thick as 2. 2's probably fine. Let's go with that. I'm just going to keep it in this general area. So let's go build. Here's my steps underneath this object. I don't really want it to be under that one, but maybe I can create an empty, actually empty under here. I'm going to make this empty the same position as the top object. I don't really want my stairs up here to be the parent. I'd rather have like a parent object. So let's call this one porch 4x4 with stairs. And then we'll move this one to the top, if it'll let me. Maybe I have to drag this one under. Drag this one under. It won't even let me do it. I would have to make it its own thing. That's a bummer. Oh well. Delete. The reason why I don't want them to be like that is because at any point I want to scale this, which you shouldn't scale it ever, but any point I wanted to for some reason, like let's say there was some sort of mechanic where I wanted to warp it a little bit or something like that, then I wouldn't want to create them as a parent-child like that, because then scale on one will scale the other one in a weird way. Anywho, let's go ahead and jump out. I can adjust it. I definitely can. So there's the stairs now built into the object. Let's go ahead and adjust it the way that I know how to do it, which would be unpack this prefab. So unpack completely. Now that they're unpacked, let's create an empty, name it the same thing, copy, rename, paste, move it out, move this under, move this under. There we go. So now it's porch. This will be just the porch. Boom. We have porch with stairs, porch, and stairs. So now that they're actually unpacked, let's overwrite this prefab. So porch with stairs, boom. Replace anyway. Now it's gone. And there's my updated one. So if I ever wanted another porch with stairs, duplicate, you know, get it ready to go. Delete. So let's give this one a material. Boom. Porch with stairs. Material. Let's use something different. So go into tools, materials, steps. Let's do structure, and I'm going to switch it back to neutral for now. So we see, or no, did I use the wrong one? I used prop static, sorry. Structure, actually I'll use a different structure, cool, or do I want to use, I'll do that for something else. Neutral, back to neutral, there we go. So steps, porch, wall. So I have the basis of my test area started. Now I need to get the rest of this going because we're running out of time. So here, what I'm going to do is have the door be able to be burned away by me pushing this object into it. Now, after I'm done with the recording, the next time we do lecture, I'm going to have this more updated so I can show you what it looks like when you start making objects look like certain things, but I'm not going to change anything about how it works, just so we can see the difference from one to the other. But I think that'll help out a lot as you all are going. But I want to make sure that I have at least something done for this. And so the idea is getting this level mechanic actually as a gameplay setup. So this wall is going to become a door instead. Let's get rid of this one, wall 4x4. Let's make a doorway. If I'm making a doorway, I need this player. So let's move this player up. I was originally going to do a hedge into like an underground thing, but let's do the door for right now. I'll come back to it. So I'm getting the player up here because I want to measure the door to the player's size. I always recommend if you have, you know, a door in your house that you go up to it and look at how big you are to the door. That sounds like a joke, but that's real. So select this, move it up to the wall. Make sure it's snapped. So there's Pro Builder's got their own like door size or door frame object. I actually already had mine set up in here, I guess, so it's already pretty close to the right size. But if yours was like, you know, way taller, that's not really how big a door is. It's, you know, usually closer to that. Get back here. I hit undo too many times. Get over here. All right, so if I was looking at a door as a person, usually I want to get up and run to my door, but I'm gonna wait because I moved it. I moved my door out of the way. All right, let's stick with this. Maybe it's a mansion door. How big is, no, mansion doors are like double doors. Yeah, big old double doors. So let's do more than one person. Let's get two people, right? So maybe this was a two-player game. Duplicate. Two people go into the door. Door width. That's not the one I want. You are 4 still. I need the total depth. No, not the depth. Let's do the leg. There you go, leg width. Here's my double door. Go 0.8. Sure. And then the height, I think the height's fine. Let's go with that. So hit build. And now I built this, as I built this, I didn't check the back here. Back here doesn't line up with my original wall. That's totally fine if it doesn't, because you can once again go ahead and select these faces. And then while you have all of these selected, grab the, this is the Z transform, but grab the transform for the direction you want to move it in. And then while you're moving it, just hold V and snap it to the corner. Snapped up, done, ready to go. So there's the entrance to the building. Let's go ahead and give it a material here. So I'm going to use, let's go door, structure, neutral, boom. There's my wall that I can walk through. Let's just throw a floor down in here so I can actually enter this building. So new shape. Nope. New shape. There you go. Cube. Gonna make another floor here, but it's not gonna be the outside, it's gonna be inside floor. So let's go ahead and build this one. I'm gonna make it, I guess I should make it the same height, but I'm just gonna make it all the way to the ground here. And let's go 4. 4, really thick for a floor. Let's go ahead and select it, and we'll make it the same height as this other one. So take that for now, hold V, snap it up, grab the bottom, and while we're moving the bottom, hold V, snap it. There we go. There's my interior floor. Floor 4x4 interior. And then let's save that in a prefab. Prefab, bonk. Same thing. Door, I guess I could say door frame, something. Let's go door for now. I can change it later. Interior, then you could like duplicate it, move it. But let's go ahead and get something working in here. So if I have this place, this interior, exterior thing set up, the goal here is that I want to be able to burn the door away so I can get inside. So we're going to need to first get these players out of the way. Get out of here, players. So I want to be able to walk up to this door, burn it, and then go inside because the door is going to be locked or something. So this burnable object that I was using, let's go ahead and make a prefab of this so when I mess with this, it doesn't ruin what I did. So I'm going to take this, drag it into my folder. Burnable object is now a prefabbed thing. And now let's take this one and break it, change it into something else. So here's the object. Let's change the thing that we're actually working with, which is burn this. So burn this is going to be let's do each door as its own object. So I'm going to move it over here, select this face, and we'll move this and snap it so that it's the right size of the door. Move this up and snap it. And then I'm going to want this to center in the middle here if these are going to match. So there's one door. And then the animation or the audio source, let's move the audio source to be the actual door itself because these are going to be 2 different doors. So there's one. It has its own, like burn this here. This burnable object is referencing this animator. Let's not call it old hedge, old door. And then let's make both of them. So I'm going to duplicate anim here, which is going to have all of those same things underneath, but we're both going to use the same audio source, which is kind of cool. Let's duplicate it. So I have anim has a burn this, which is pointing to this audio source. If I look at my new anim over here and open it and burn this, you are pointing to that audio source. But this one's pointing to its own animator, and this one is pointing to its own animator, just because of how I set it up and how I duplicated them, how they reference everything. So now I have another one, so I can move this one over here. Now I'd have to put the audio source in the center. But I have the 2 doors now, audio source in the center. Should have just left it there. But there's our 2 doors lined up where I would go to, burn through or whatever. Now the requirements of the prototype say that in order for this to work, I need to see a collectible on the other side. And so right now I can't see through these doors, even though it looks like I can right now. I'm going to have to create a window on the door, which is totally fine. But first, let's put a collectible back here. So in order to get to this collectible, I have to use this level mechanic. So we're going to go down here and use tools and the example collectible and just place one of these inside. And as long as I can see it beforehand, but I can't get to it, then that's the idea of the gameplay setup. And like I said, once I'm done with this recording, I'm going to continue poking at this and get it moving a little further, but this will show you the basis of this test area and how it works. So there's walking up into the mansion, burning the door, using whatever this object is. It eventually is going to be a lantern. Let's just call it lantern. Cool. And then we light that on fire and it burns away. Let's go ahead and hit play and see if this just starts working, and then I'm going to put the window in there and then we'll be good. So there's the door, here's the object. If I walk up to the door, I can't get inside. I could even creak the door slightly to show that it's open but not open. But there's, there's our little outside of a mansion, not quite done, but The goal would be that I could see, maybe I could see it through this window. If I use the bay window as the way to see the collectible. Either way though, we can select this object, walk up to the door, and set it on fire. That burns the door away, and then there's the collectible. Burn the door away, and we can go get the collectible. Here we got the item on the inside, and you know that would be the idea of a gameplay setup using a level mechanic. And you know it has 3 forms of feedback and everything. It just right now the objects don't quite look like the objects that I'm talking about. And I have to, one more time, I have to make sure that you can see this collectible before you actually go in here. So I'm gonna actually move it to where the bay window is because you know I want to keep that thing alive. So let's move it over here, and then I'm going to make it so you can see through here to get to it. We're gonna have to make sure we have one more floor piece. So I'm gonna duplicate this, move it out. Let's break it, unpack, change the size of it, fit it in there. Boom. You are now a 1x4 interior. And then slide it in. And all of my pivot points are wrong, which is going to cause me an issue. But for right now, it's okay. I can always go back and change these things. Int, right in there. Oop, up here. Okay, so bay window, I want to see this collectible before I go inside. I'm going to use these floors as a ceiling real quick too, just so I can shut out the light that we see coming through. Make it dark. That way I can highlight this thing. Moving it up. We'll take this and I'm going to use this porch and do like an overhang too. Let's go use a small one, I think. Duplicate, move it up. There we go. Mansion, right? Always has a piece of porch overhanging over the top of it. Rotate. Snap it over here. And then I can use my oneer, where are you? Duplicate, move it up. Snap, duplicate. Oop, I hit the wrong button. Okay, move it over. There we go. My oneers. And then we can go 1 forward with it. Take these, duplicate, 1 forward. There we go. Now I have my overhang. Overhang for the house, the door, etc. Right? And now it's going to be dark on the inside, which is what I wanted to have happen, so that we can actually highlight this collectible. And we're going to do that by putting a light over it. Got to keep moving. All right. So bay window. Let's go ahead and edit this thing. Jump into the prefab. I want to make sure that this actually has a hole, so that we can see through it and whatnot. So in order to do that, this one's going to be a little more complicated, but I'm going to do it a simple way. I am never going to ever tell you to cut this geometry. Cutting geometry is bad. Not bad. If you know how to do 3D modeling, you're totally fine. But if you're just very quickly modifying something to do something else, like putting a window in it, then you know, make it simple. So I'm going to move this one down so it's 1 unit. We're going to go ahead and duplicate it, move it up. And then I'm just going to fill in these holes with another object. So new shape, select it, snap to the corner, build it. Select this, move it in, snap corner, move it in, snap corner. Oop, no real corner here. So we'll move it close enough and select this one, edge, because I did like a whole edge here. So that may give me some weird Z fighting later, but for now, this would also make 3D modelers really angry that I put an edge on not an edge. There, good enough. I'm going to move this one up all the way. So we've got the separation of the window. And then I can, go ahead and extrude this out and fill it, or I can put in my own thing here. Let's go ahead and just leave it open for right now, and then we'll place a window inside of it. So that's going to be one piece. Let's go do another one. I'm just going to do these separately. Build. Select the face, drag it in. Select this one, drag it in over here. It'd be like the other piece of the window. I can always come back to it and make it prettier, but let's get this thing done. All right, so that'll be that piece. Duplicate, move it over. It'll be this corner, hold V, snap to the corner. And then let's fill out this last piece over here. I can probably just duplicate this weird one, get it over here, and then adjust it. What if I rotate? There we go. That. Something like that, maybe. No. Let's get this corner, this point. This one. And then I'll just adjust it. Snap, corner, corner. That one's weird. Adjust it. Select, move, hold V, snap. Select this other side. Try to get this fitting on here, and select this one. Move it in this corner. Oh, this one, hold V. There you go, snap. There's my corner, point, point, point. This one will be a whole wall, so select this face, extrude, and finish that one off. All right, so then the window goes in between. So let's select these objects here. I'm going to give them their own materials. So these will be, I don't know, wall for now. And let's assign materials. So tools, materials. And I'm going to give this, I'm going to do the same material so it looks like it's all one piece right now. So neutral, boom. But we're going to put a blue window in between. So let's create a new object. This one I'm just going to do the pane, the one window pane, and then duplicate it. So build this shape. Select it like this, make it window thin, make it window tall, whatever that is. Hold V. Rotate it. Stick it in here. Could change the transform tool, I guess, to not be global, local. There you go. So it'll stick in the corner here. Select the edge. Go to the corner. And let's give it a transparent material. So transparent material, alpha blue. Boom. Transparent window. Call it window. Okay. Duplicate. Let's rotate it. Do the other one. Snap this one in here for now, and then I'll adjust it. This is like the same length. Might be a little longer than the other one. That's okay. Window. Okay, so that one's in there, and then the last one. Duplicate, rotate. Bring this one back. Fit it in, and extend it so it fits the rest of the space. And there we go. There's our bay window. So now that it's all built in this prefab, when I go back out, boom, we now have our whole window. And we can see the collectible on the inside, which is what I wanted to have happen. Collectibles on the inside, I can now have it look like lights coming through the window and shining on this collectible. So let's go ahead and add a light here. Let's go to component. Actually, let's go just create an empty real quick. Empty object. I'm going to call this window light. And then let's create an add. Let's go light component. This light component, let's do I don't know, like a point light, I guess. Should be fine. A point light that makes it look like it's shining through the window. This will light this room up a little bit. So maybe we go like, I don't know if I want shadows or not. Let's see what soft shadows look like. 2 on the intensity. Now we get the little shadow coming from behind the collectible, which is kind of what I wanted. Boom. And then I don't really know what the outside light looks like right now, but that'll be fine for now so that we have our window kind of kicking in a little bit of shine on it. Let's change this 4 so it's not this white color. Structure, and I'll do cool for this. Boom. So that one stands out. So there's the interior of the mansion, the collectible through the window. And so hopefully now when I play back through this, we should have all our pieces and parts play. Cool. All right. This is my test room of a mansion. For the test room, I have these doors. Right now, I don't have any feedback that tells me that I can burn this. So something I would want to do is try to convince the player that this is what you need to do. I also want to make sure that when you come up here, you look inside and you can see this collectible and be like, that's what I want. I want that collectible. So let's get this box and pick it up. Go to the door, burn the door away, and now I can go inside and get that collectible. And woo, there we go. Got my little test area built. So this lecture's gone on quite a bit. You know, definitely a little longer than I wanted it to go. I want to make sure that we wrap this one up and take some time out. I have some other previous versions of this that went into a little less detail scripting wise, but went into more detail on the modular construction. So I'll share those out as well, just so everyone has more information. Yeah, for now, I want to go ahead and wrap this one up with where we're at. And just real quick, I'm going to say that I didn't really go into building props or anything in this one. We just kind of built a window and door frames and whatnot. So think about that when you go to work on your prototype. There's also requirements for making props, making light sources that are actually like a physical light source. And so the other video, I'll send out another video with this one when I send it out, that'll just say, watch this one to know more about the props and modular construction and whatnot. But this one is definitely heavier on a lot of the scripting stuff. So I'll just make mention of that when I send it. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and say that that's it for this lecture. I'm going to wrap this one up and close it out, and then open up for any questions that those of you that are here have, so we can go through those. I'm going to continue working on this, and I'll send everyone an update or a screenshot or whatever, maybe a different video on FSO to show where it went to from this point. So you get that information as well. So thanks everyone. I'm going to stop the recording and then we can do Q&A. So thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoyed and learned some stuff.